Okay, so I just want to record a quick video on the universe, going step by step in a very short time period without excessive explanation about how to do each step. This is just so you can kind of look at things and go, hey, here's the step by step by step by step by step by step motion. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is go File, New File, and I'm going to create a new file. I'm clicking on Film and Video, HDTV, 1080p, because I want to create for a film environment. So I'm going to hit Record, Create, and I'm going to hide my background because I don't want to see it. I'm clicking on the default black and white foreground and background colors, and that gets me black as my foreground color. I can then hit Option Alt Delete and fill with the background. So what I want to do now is I want to go, hey, here's my image, layer, new adjustment layer, curves. I'm going to do, make stars. Okay, and here I'm just going to drag this from black all the way down to 0. So input is 100%, output is 0. Okay, that makes everything very bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to my plugin, filter, okay, noise, add a lot of noise, Gaussian, really high number. It could be anything up this high. I will click OK, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 1 pixel. And then I'm going to go layer, new adjustment layer, curves, and I'm going to go, make stars white. Okay, and I can see my histogram here showing that most of my values are kind of approximately about 40%. So I'm going to click on the handle up top. I'm clicking on the handle up top because this is white on this side, black on that side. I will click and drag this over like so. I start to see stars. I'm going to drag this side over a little bit so they're a little brighter. I'm going to hit Command Y because that forces Zoom to behave properly. And now I have a whole bunch of stars. Okay, so I can see my layer menu here, and it's background, make stars white. I'm going to make another layer, new layer. And the name of this layer is going to be nebula. Nebulas are clouds of gas. I'm going to click on my foreground color. My computer seems to be hanging up for a little bit. Don't know why that's happening. Okay, so here's my colors. I'm going to choose, say, like a dark blue, and my background color, I'm going to pick, say, a dark orange, like so, like the middle value, actually. And now I'm going to go Filter, Render, Clouds. This creates a nice little cloud pattern. I can't see my image, so I have to go Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. So out of the layer mask, I could have just clicked on the layer mask button at the bottom of the layer menu. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my foreground color and background colors are white and black. I'm on my layer mask. I can tell that because I see the brackets. And then go Filter, Render, Clouds. Now I can see my stars. Remember, I can set my paintbrush to say 50% opacity. Make a nice soft brush, and then I can pick out different colors, say like this yellow here, and I can paint, I'm going to blow up my brush using the bracket key. And if my brush is set to 50% opacity, that will let me paint on it without being too obvious. 50% brushes, 20% brushes can often be a great way of painting in the illusion of shadows or color without actually creating something obvious. Here's some pink. So, and very quickly, just by kind of randomly going around, I can create the illusion of pink gases, purple gases, and all kinds of things like that. Now, what I want to do is I want to create my Earth. I'm going to set my foreground color to kind of a dark blue like this, because I know I'm going to be making clouds later on. I'm going to go to my ellipse tool, which is possibly hiding under the rectangular tool here. And this is different from the marquee tool up here, the elliptical marquee. This is the ellipse tool. I have my ellipse tool set to shape, no stroke, and a fill of blue. And I'm just going to hold down the shift key. This will force it to be a perfect sphere, circle, and I'm going to drag like that. So see, now I have this vector object. By the way, if I were to print this, the line along here, no matter, even though my image itself is 72 dpi, this would print very cleanly, the edge here. So now I have this blue color. I'm going to name this Earth. And then I'm going to go Layer, New, Layer, and I'm going to name this layer Clouds. And I see the Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask. I'm going to click on that. That's going to force the cloud layer to be only visible where the Earth layer is. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on black and white default foreground and background colors. And I'm going to go Filter, Render, Clouds. Okay, as I can see, I now have some clouds here. This looks kind of similar to the moon at the moment, but that's interesting to remember, but we'll go forward from there. I see my cloud layer is set to normal, and I'm going to instead set it to screen. Screen will set all the colors here to wherever there's black, it'll stay the same color. Wherever it's white, it will look like clouds, white clouds. Okay, now I can click on the Earth layer, and I can add a new layer, Layer, New, Layer, Continents. And now on this continents layer, I can pick out various, kind of dark greens and dark browns. And with my soft brush that's at 50%, I can paint in very quickly the apparent continents. And the advantage of this is that because the continents themselves are hidden under these clouds, it's kind of hard to see any details that might give us enough information to know that something's going wrong. Okay, they're hiding. Here's maybe some brown. Let's go to more orange for like kind of mountains. Here's maybe the Rocky Mountains. Here are some Canada. So I can go like that. And now, even though at distance, this kind of looks like it could be the continents, if I turn off the clouds layer, I can see they're just simple blobs. Okay, so now I have some clouds. Now the thing is I want to be able to see everything. So I'm going to go Layer, New, Layer, and this is going to be my sun layer. I can click on sun. I'm going to click on the little default foreground background color. Notice how often I keep clicking on that. I'm going to hit Option Delete. This fills everything with black. I'm going to go to the elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to click and drag like this. I want a nice big sun. And I'm going to go Filter, Render, Lens Flare. Okay, and if I pick 105mm prime lens, it gives me this kind of nice white light here. If I drag the crosshairs to the center, it reduces the little lens flare effect to a degree. I can click OK, and now I have an object that looks like the sun. I now have to kill my selection. This will get rid of my selection. If I don't do that, I can't move my sun around easily. I'm now going to go set my layer from sun normal to screen. It's now set to screen. I can click on it. I can drag my sun layer below the Earth. And I'm going to drag my sun like this. So now it's kind of hiding behind the Earth. If I go to my Earth layer and go Layer, Layer Style, Layer Style, Drop Shadow, it's going to create this drop shadow that I can kind of drag off from the Earth. And this is set to multiply. I can click OK. And I then can go Layer, Layer Style, Create Layer. Sure. I'm going to click Earth's drop shadow. I'm going to click on the Earth's drop shadow right there. I'm going to click and drag it so it intersects the Earth. I can click and drag it all the way up to the top here, and I can see that it's now above the Earth. And I move it over here. I see there's this area where it doesn't intersect. Well, I can hold down the Option or the Alt key on my keyboard and drag it in between the clouds and the Earth's drop shadow. If I click there, it will then be like that. I can then move it a little bit closer if I want to. I notice the fact that, you know, everything is kind of fuzzy. This is the atmosphere. I want to create a sense of fuzzy atmosphere. So I can go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur on the Earth's drop shadow, you know, say like 4 pixels or 8 pixels, but maybe I'm not sure that's the exact amount I want. So one of the things I can do with Smart Objects, which we talked about before, I can go Layer, Smart Object, Convert to Smart Object. And then with filters, I can run filters onto Smart Objects. So Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. We'll try 8 pixels. That looks nice, but I can also double click on where it says Gaussian Blur, and I can change that amount later on. If I decide to change things, you know, maybe, you know, see how much I can do. So maybe 17, 16 is right, but maybe 5 is, maybe 8. Okay, I can keep changing this value as I go along. To repeat the whole process, where, you know, here's my moon, I will click and drag out a smaller shape like this. I will make a layer, new layer, moon surface. I'm going to click on the use previous layer to create clipping mask. My default colors were already set to black and white. So filter, render, cloud. Okay, we got a nice little moon there. And then I'm going to click on where it says ellipse. I'm going to double click on that, name it moon. And then I'm going to go layer, new layer style, drop shadow. Here's my drop shadow that appeared over there. That's fine. Okay, I can go layer, layer style, create layer. Sure. I'm going to drag this. I'm going to drag this above the moon, like so. I'm going to drag it over here. So that way it mimics the sun's angle for the shadow. And then I can hold down the Option key because there's a little bit extending out. And I also notice that this shadow seems a little not quite dark enough because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. So I'll put this at, say, 95% fill. There's a little bit of reflected light somewhere. And also, finally, because I want to convey that atmosphere feel, I will go to Earth, Layer, Layer Style, Outer Glow. And now I have a nice little outer glow around the Earth, suggesting that there's an atmosphere where the sun is hitting the details. And that is how I create this whole universe. And that is the step-by-step process.